Kenilworth United Church of Christ to come to Western New York to give a concert and lead a service of worship, marking the beginning of a new season of concerts. Dr. Stan Bratton talks with Moksha Summer and Jamal Wade Hines of HuDost during their visit to Western New York. We're very honored to welcome Moksha Summer and Jamal Wade Hines to Buffalo.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Kaleidoscope.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
And you're here on the occasion of celebrating the summer solstice that was taking place here at the church in Tonawanda.
Kenilworth.
Yeah, we're grateful to be part
Kenilworth.
of, to be welcomed into this church's community, to be able to do this kind of celebration with everyone. It was quite special and a really wonderful environment.
We want to talk a little bit about you and your journey and so forth. But tell us your name. HuDost?
HuDost.
We have been called HuDost before, though.
I think you remember telling you that. It was on the headlines, right?
It was. We arrived at a big theater, and you know the whole thing where there'll be text outside of the theater which says tonight, and it said tonight HuDost.
Ho's got to eat too.
But HuDost actually means it's actually a Turkish greeting, but it's hu is the root word that's in several different traditions, especially in all the Abrahamic faiths, and hu means it's the breath or the sound of the divine. So it's kind of like the equivalent to the Turkish om. And dost means true friend. So it means true friend of that source sound, that source breath.
Well, great expression to fit a lot of the work you do and a lot of the music you have. Just touch base a little bit of your story. You were born and raised in Montreal?
I was actually technically born in Cowansville, Quebec, which is out in the middle of nowhere in Quebec, but Montreal was the nearest city and the city that I ended up living in. Yes, so I am there. He is from originally Florida, but he was born in the car on the Knoxville Turnpike. And
on the way to the hospital.
In the Knoxville.
In Tennessee, yeah.
And his family is from Kentucky. So actually we have a really wonderful 7-year-old child. And especially preparing to have a child, we wanted to live close to family. So we moved there, and it's close to Nashville, so it's very convenient for us for studio work and that kind of thing as well, in terms of touring as well. So.
And how did you compromise upon a place to live? Here's a Montreal Canadian, and
I love Montreal, and I love Canada.
beautiful city.
And I will be honest, it is not a glamorous reason. It boiled down essentially to the price of real estate and what we could do, what was practical in terms of for work. And
it's beautiful out by the river, and we have
yeah.
a studio, and she has an art studio, and it's a good retreat space when we're not traveling. And it's central to all the places, at least on this coast, that we want to drive to tour.
Well, you mentioned artists. Help us understand the importance of the role of the artist, particularly in this more turbulent time.
Well, I think that reaches across a broad spectrum. I mean, to give a little bit of context, I actually have an MFA that is a Master's in Fine Arts in visual and performance arts, and I consider both of us actually to be interdisciplinary artists, even if the primary form is music, because I think a huge part of art is experiential, and what can be conveyed and what people can receive through that experience. And I think that's really critical right now. And I think that one of the few ways that people are able to instantly connect without questioning all of the different fracturing forces that are in our society right now is through just that feeling that music elicits in them. So if that answers your question in terms of how the arts apply, I think it's one of the few forms that really crosses boundaries without injury or insult.
Well, I look at the artist, particularly at this time. If you go from Black Lives Matter, social justice, all of those themes, I think the artist really has a role to play.
Yeah, I think that's always been true. And, I grew up actually being part of, if you don't know what the Bread and Puppet Theater is, check it out. It was one of the leaders in artistic social activism. And, if you know the huge puppets that would be on the streets of New York City, that's where those started. And even as a kid, I was part of that. And it taught me a lot about just what you can do through creative expression in terms of actually even eliciting change. So.
Well, I want to pick up on the theme, the spiritual theme, that is the kind of respect for all religions, and yet seeing a sense of unity among faith traditions. Can you talk a little bit about that? We'll add some clips of some of the songs you've had that relate to multiple traditions, but can you talk about the importance of understanding the diversity and yet respect for each tradition?
Well, I think that's the key thing, and maybe he wants to add to this, but the key thing is that, all of the different paths are beautiful expressions, and they should be completely respected as they are, as their own voices, their own expressions. It shouldn't be attempted to try and change those. They should be respected. That said, everything comes from the same source. And anything that is driven by love and compassion and that return to that light that pervades all is, stemming from that same place. So it's a balance in terms of how to celebrate each tradition, but also acknowledge where it comes from.
Well, I appreciated so much the respect for each of the traditions through music. We work with many different religious traditions, and one of the feedback we get from people is say, well, you're trying to merge all religions, just that they all disappear in just one unity. And I say, no, we're trying to develop the respect for each, but to see what are those common themes and that sense of unity that's above all the faiths.
Yeah, and I think it's the thing of being truly able to break bread together. There's a church that we're part of where we live, and one of the things that made me feel...
Progressive Christian Church.
Yeah, Progressive Christian Church, and he can share about his own history with Christianity. For me, it's kind of newer. I didn't grow up Christian.
I grew up Southern Baptist.
He did, yeah.
So it was, this is the only way, and you're going to hell if you don't believe it. And
well, the week before we recorded this, the Southern Baptists went through some turmoil at their national gathering around some of the current issues of our time.
Yeah, good.
Good. Turmoil can be a good sign. But all that I was going to say was just that what made me feel more comfortable in this church that we were a part of was the very thing of literally just sharing meals with other places of faith in the community. So with one of the local mosques, and the Buddhists at their center, and just having that simple thing of just
simply breaking
sharing
bread,
food
the bread
together.
of life.
Yeah.
The thing is, we've traveled a lot, and we hang out with a lot. We play yoga, Hindu, Krishna festivals. We've go and play Sufi festivals. We've gone and studied, music in different countries. But a lot of the people even from the Progressive Church that we go to had never set foot in a mosque before, and they were kind of freaked out and scared. And all of a sudden, it's time to sit and eat, and they're serving us fried chicken. They're like, "You eat fried chicken too?" Yeah, we live in Kentucky. Why don't we eat fried chicken? So,
that's what I hadn't thought of before. Because it's Kentucky.
Yeah. So,
you adapt.
Yeah. And people left and they're like, "Well, there's a lot of similarities." And we're like, "Yeah, of course there are." Well, they still respect Jesus. They see Jesus. They don't see him as the only thing, but they,
Well, we have some clips of the different traditions. but I'm intrigued with the title of another song you've got called The Burning Church.
Yeah. And if you can...
It's on our last album.
It's on our last album. People should definitely watch the music video. I was able to bring in a group of really wonderful women to be in it with me. But I wrote that from the perspective of what it is to be a female outsider stepping into the church. And the song itself I wrote where basically it's basically like a sister in that tradition speaking with Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and just going, you're not quite getting it right. There has to be an end to this division. There has to be this ability to burn the unnecessary dogma and come back to the root of what this is supposed to be about, which is that very thing of what Jesus taught of love and compassion. But it's that, acknowledging that it's very hard for a lot of women to find, actual acknowledgement, even leadership roles, even just the ability to acknowledge God as something that isn't gendered, and I know a lot of women who've struggled with that very thing, so that's what the song is about in essence.
I'm sorry, but we're not better for your word. The emperor wears new clothes, and we are still not heard. My brother, when you wrote the book of Acts, did you think about the daughters and the questions they would ask? And I envy the one who loves and asks for no return, but I'm asking for your asking, 'cause the world has much to learn. And rise to the burning church like a sacred love.
2020 was our biggest booked year. We were returning to Europe. We had a whole Europe tour planned, and
Gonna go to Africa.
we also work. We work with this the One campaign, where the Kentucky congressional district leaders for the One campaign. So we meet with the senators and congressmen about issues of extreme poverty, and we were going to go to Africa for the first time with some of that work. And big year planned. COVID hit, and everything got canceled. So
Yeah, everything got canceled. And I mean, really and truly, we are fortunate. We know so many musicians that were affected, in more challenging ways. We were fortunate that we were established enough and had been doing this long enough as our career that we could qualify for unemployment and, that kind of thing. And we basically just went deep into writing and, using that space. We were balancing that with homeschooling our son. And that's the thing, is I think that music writing is such an incredible processing tool. And the fact is, everything that was coming up for us was coming up in lesser and greater degrees for everyone. This experience of isolation, some of the things that are triggered through that, some of the experience of not being able to, being home, but not necessarily feeling home in oneself or with people one loves because of that need to separate. And we felt like, music is the kind of tool that you can use to express that. And so we really went deep and ended up with not just a full album, but...
Yeah, we did it. We recorded a full new record, and then we also recorded a whole album full of cover songs as well. So.
Well, I saw the one, This Is How the Story Ends.
Yeah, this is how my story ends.
Helping people deal with these struggles of being shut down and shut in.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just relate to COVID. That can relate to any time, but it was more specifically written around that.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that anyone who's heard the album, we're doing the pre-sale for it right now, and it doesn't officially come out till the end of November, but we've shared it with some people, and they say, this may have been written during COVID because of what came up in that time, but it's universally applicable. This is the kind of thing that transcends time in terms of just human experience with those very things. So.
This is how my story ends.
Well, I want to pick up on one more theme, and that's your commitment to social and environmental justice. And I found the song "Our Words Will Be Louder" very powerful.
Thank you.
No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace. No justice. No peace.
This is the color of the day. I am tired of seeing from a sheltered place. Who am I to speak? I've never known your song, so I'll turn the other cheek. The world is aflame. The makers and the martyrs burn to gray. Your words are ablaze. Signs being struck by bullets raised to say, I cannot breathe. These are the words I can say. Use my voice if you
That very thing of even how just economic divide can affect people voting and the ability to do so, and how there needed to just be some attention given to the power of collective voice and what could be done to change that as well. So, and I think that's one of the incredible things we saw in the last election is, you know, there had been, especially through the Poor People's Campaign, a huge focus on Georgia, for example, in terms of aiding those people who did not have the ability to vote to be able to do so. And look what happened with that. So, you know, we hope that it helped in the long run with that. And
Well, I was really moved to think of, because I think in some ways music has moved away from some of the social justice themes that I grew up with and knew. And I think this comes right into the heart of that.
yeah.
Have
In
you seen
fact,
the
that
full
you could-
video of that song? Have you seen the full music video for that?
I have.
With
Okay,
Yeah, I
Reverend-
looked
good.
it on the website.
I hope
Yeah.
you can share some of that. You'd be
It's very powerful.
We will stand up again. We will march again. We will preach again. We will organize again. We are black. We are white. We are Latino. We are Native American. We are Democrat. We are Republican. We are independent. We are people of faith. We are people not of faith. We are natives and immigrants. We are business leaders and workers and unemployed. We are doctors and the uninsured. We are gay. We are straight. We are students. We are parents. We are retirees. We are America. And we're here, and we ain't going nowhere.
We got Reverend Barber, you know, from the Poor People's
Right.
Campaign on the end of it too, which his message at the end kind of encapsulates the whole thing.
Yeah, if you can share his message, I'll just share that, you know, we were part of the editing process for it. We probably have seen the music video like 50 times, you know, just because of doing the work on it. And his segment at the end makes me cry still in terms of what it communicates. So,
Well, I want to thank both of you for coming to Buffalo
thank you.
and sharing your gifts, your artist insights, and your really powerful music
Thank
to
you.
be here. Thank you, Amoksha Summer and Jamal Wade Hines. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.